Freedom of assembly. Freedom of assembly is one of the fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution of India under Article 19(1) BB. This right guarantees that every citizen of India shall have the right to assemble peacefully and without arms. However, this right is not absolute and is subject to certain reasonable restrictions mentioned under Article 19(3), aimed at ensuring public order, security of the state, morality, and the sovereignty and integrity of India. Constitutional Provisions 1. Article 19(1)(b). This article provides the right to assemble peacefully and without arms. It grants every citizen the right to hold meetings, processions, or protests, provided they are peaceful and unarmed. 2. Article 19(3). The freedom to assemble can be subjected to reasonable restrictions based on the following grounds: sovereignty and integrity of India, security of the state, public order, decency or morality, contempt of court, defamation, incitement to an offense. These restrictions are enforced to prevent any assembly that might threaten public safety, national security, or the overall well-being of the state. Judicial interpretation. The judiciary has clarified the scope of freedom of assembly in several cases, emphasizing the balance between individual freedoms and the need for maintaining law and order. 1. Ramlila Maidan Incident, 2012. In this case, the Supreme Court held that the right to assemble peacefully does not mean that the assembly can take place at any place or at any time. The police have the right to regulate the place and time of the assembly to prevent disruptions to public order. 2. K.K. Verma v. Union of India, 1955. In this case, the court upheld the principle that the freedom of assembly can be restricted if it leads to a breach of public order or national security concerns. 3. R.D. Upadhyaya v. State of Andhra Pradesh, 1996. The Supreme Court reiterated that while the right to assemble is guaranteed, it should not result in public disorder or endanger the state's security. Scope and limitations. 1. Peaceful assembly. The assembly must be peaceful and without arms. If the assembly turns violent or involves weapons, the right to assembly is no longer protected. A peaceful assembly is one where participants do not cause harm to public property or disturb the peace of society. 2. Regulation by the state. The state has the power to regulate the assembly with conditions like prior permission, venue restrictions, and other lawful conditions that ensure safety and maintain law and order. Assemblies that take place without permission can be legally curtailed or dispersed by law enforcement. 3. Public order. The state can restrict assemblies if they have the potential to disrupt public order. Public order refers to the tranquility of the community, and any disturbance to public order justifies imposing limitations on the freedom of assembly. 4. Reasonable restrictions. Restrictions on assemblies are allowed to ensure public safety, prevent violence, and protect state security. For example, processions or gatherings near sensitive installations or during sensitive times can be prohibited to avoid incitement to violence. 5. Prohibition on armed assemblies. The assembly cannot be armed. The presence of arms or weapons in any form in an assembly is considered a violation of the right, as it leads to the risk of violence. Role of police. The police have a duty to maintain order during public assemblies. While they cannot arbitrarily restrict assemblies, they have the authority to prevent assemblies from causing harm to public safety or peace. Police are also responsible for ensuring that the assembly remains peaceful and that no laws are breached during the course of the gathering. Examples of restrictions: prohibition of assemblies in certain areas. In some cases, the government may declare a certain area as a prohibited zone where no assembly or protest is allowed, especially if it is near sensitive locations like government buildings, courts, or embassies. Time restrictions. The government can impose time restrictions, such as allowing an assembly only during daylight hours or forbidding them during times of national crisis or war. International perspective. Globally, the right to assemble is recognized as a basic human right. International covenants like the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights ICCPR, Article 21, also protect the right to peaceful assembly. However, similar to Indian law, it allows for restrictions in the interest of national security, public order, and the protection of public health. Conclusion: the freedom of assembly is a vital part of democratic expression, allowing citizens to voice their opinions, protest against government actions, and engage in peaceful demonstrations. However, this right must be exercised within the bounds of public order and national security, with reasonable restrictions imposed when necessary to preserve the peace, law, and order of the state. The legal framework ensures that while the freedom to assemble is respected, it does not compromise the broader interests of public welfare and security.